Okay, good afternoon all. So welcome to the day 4. And today's session we are going to cover data visualization and EDA. EDA is nothing but an exploratory data analysis. And there are 2 sessions. And in yesterday's session, we covered about pandas. Okay. So Panda is one of the very good library for data processing part. So उसी को हम आगे extend करने वाले हैं, and we are going to cover data visualization using Seaborn. So Seaborn is just a library. जैसे हमारी numpy library है, matplotlib library है. This is one of the library. जैसे OpenCV मैंने आपको install करने के लिए बोला था. So this is one of the library. तो इसको हम start करेंगे. And after that we will start with the EDA. So both are the very good concepts for data pre-processing part, and these are the advanced version of pandas. Okay. And in the self-learning mode, there is a very good resource by Krish Nayak. वो link मैंने यहाँ पे दिया हुआ है. If you open the link, it will redirect you to the homepage of repository of Krish Nayak. In this repository, there are multiple EDAs are there. Means जो हम Python कराने वाले हैं, जो notepad है, वो भी यहाँ पे Krish Nayak ने भी कराया हुआ है. So आपसे request है, that is जो हम आज complete कराएंगे. After that, you need to just do it yourself. उसको explore करना आप लोगों को. Next, in the assignment part, you need to choose any data set. You need to perform EDA. जो भी आपको data set मिल रहा है उसको करिए, and you need to submit it. Any data set जो आपकी choice का है उसको उठाइए, वहां से आप उसको process करिए, EDA पे different graph plot करिए, and submission करना है. Third part, resource of the day. ये मैं आपको first session complete होने के बाद में explain करने वाला हूँ. So I hope everybody is doing daily task. कोई issue question query आ रही है तो session के बाद हम उसको handle करेंगे. And the lecture of today's session will be uploaded by 7-8 PM. Process होने के बाद मैं उसका link यहाँ पे डाल दूँ. So let's start. Very first session, data visualization in Seaborn. So it will be covered by Raghav Garg and Adil. So both will take over. Raghav, chaliye.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's start with data visualization using Seaborn. So please open the notebook. Its link is given on the schedule page of summer school. And please connect to the server. Copy to drive. And also there is option to copy to drive. You have to select that option. So when you are done, just give me an acknowledgement.
Done, sir.
Okay, so I've given a small explanation about what is data visualization. It is basically a method to visualize the data that we are handling. So we use graphs, charts, maps to visualize the data. And for that, we are using 2 libraries, Matplotlib and Seaborn. Below that, I have given 2 links for your self-learning. You can explore these links, as we will be covering only the main graphs that are used generally. Other graphs can be found on these links. So let's start first by importing both the libraries. And please keep executing the cells side by side. So you can see that in the first 1.1, we have initialized two lists, A and B, and this is the syntax to plot a line plot. Here we have initialized x is equal to A and y is equal to B, which means that A is the x-axis and B is the y-axis. So if you execute this cell, we can see that you will get this type of graph. Please execute this and let me know when you're done.
Sir,
Yes,
so Matplotlib and Seaborn both are used simultaneously, or it's an option, the one which we want to use?
actually the base framework is of Matplotlib and Seaborn is built over Matplotlib. So in
Oh,
today's
okay.
session, we'll be using Seaborn majorly as it is advanced than Matplotlib. But yes, in the backend, Seaborn also uses Matplotlib.
So, when we use Seaborn, is it necessary that we first have to import Matplotlib, or we can use Seaborn independently as well?
No, you can use Seaborn independently.
Okay, sir.
So moving on to 1.2. Here,
Sir, can you again explain the difference between Matplot and Seaborn?
the difference between them is that Seaborn is made upon Matplotlib. It uses some extra features that Matplotlib does not have. So in the backend, Seaborn uses Matplotlib also, but as Seaborn is a little bit advanced and has extra features, so today we'll be using Seaborn. And it can work independently. I hope your doubt is clear. So moving on to 1.2, here we'll see that how to save the graph that we get. So similarly, we have initialized two lists, A and B, and this is the same syntax that we used above. And here we use pic.figure.savefig. This is the function if you want to save this image. So execute this cell and you'll see that in the files column, you will get that image here. And if you try and download it, so you can open that in your local machine as well.
So,
Similarly, 1.3 also. Yes.
I wanted to ask,
Yes, Udami.
so in the above cell 1.2, we have written DPI is equals to 100. What does that mean?
DPI is basically dots per inch. And if you try changing it, if you write DPI is equal to 300, it will give you a higher resolution image. So you
Fine.
can try commenting this line and execute the below line. Now you will get an image which has a higher resolution.
Yes, sir.
So similarly, 1.3 is also another way to download the image to your local machine. So when you execute this, you will get a pop-up. So as you can see from here, you can save the image and view it in your local machine. Continuing, in 1.4, I have told you that how do we give the name to the graph. For example, if you want to give a title to the graph, we use set underscore title. For y-axis, we use set underscore y label. And for x-axis, we use set underscore x label. And whatever string you put in this, that will be shown in the graph, as you can see. Moving forward, in 1.5, I have shown you how to plot multiple lines in a single image. So here we have taken x as x-axis and we have taken different variables y1, y2, y3, y4, and here we plot them. Also, we use a parameter called label so as to show that which line belongs to which label. And as you can see, this is the graph we get, and Seaborn library automatically color codes the lines and shows the legend here.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in every output, it's showing text 0.5, 1, for example, in
Yes,
this one,
sir.
it's saying bank details. What's this?
This output is actually from the backend. As I told you that we are using Seaborn today. So if you will use Matplotlib, you will not get this output.
Okay, sir.
Moving on to 1.6. This is also a mini project which is listed on Thapar Summer School website. This is the project which sir told you to do on your own. This is the project in which we format a file. Firstly, we take different files of different sizes, for example, 200 MB, 500 MB, 1 GB, 2 GB, and then we convert the string into uppercase. And then we plot the time taken by different languages and plot them here. So as you can see, Python takes the most time and C is the fastest. So is there any doubt in section 1?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir, it's clear.
Okay, so moving on to section 2. Here we see how to plot a bar plot. It's also simple. Just we initialize two lists. In X, we give the x-axis. In Y, we give the y-axis. And same, instead of line plot, we use bar plot. And here I've used a parameter called color just to show this graph. If you try changing into blue or red or cyan, you can see the difference.
Sir, why has it changed the axis after like running the code?
Yes, sir.
So it's the same. I don't know why it's showing horizontal only.
No, sir. Sir, before running the code, it was like A, B, C, D was on the x-axis.
No,
and
that was
but-
I ran my notebook a few hours ago. So try running it now. Don't see the output that is previously saved.
Okay, sir.
I think in the third line, we have written x equal to y and y equal to x. That's why the orientation is changed. I modified it to x equal to x and y equal to y. It is back in the original form.
Yes, sir.
Yes, fine. Thank you. So moving on to 2.2. Here we give the details to the graph as we gave above. We use set underscore title, set underscore x label, and set underscore y label. And this is the output.
Excuse me, sir. Instead of color, we can we write hex code of restricted colors?
No. Also, if you still have any doubts, you can try and experiment it yourself and you can check the output. And if you have any doubts, Adil is also there. You can drop him your doubts in the chat box. So moving on to 2.3, here we understand how to plot multiple bar plots in one graph. So similarly, we take an x-axis, two y-axis, and here we plot them. So I have given the first label name Audi and color R, which is red. And to the next graph, I have given the label BMW and color C, which is cyan. And as you can see, this is the graph we get. And wherever Audi exceeds the value of BMW, we get the red color, which shows us the values of the respective labels.
Excuse me, sir, in example 2.2, why have we used the for loop?
Okay. So here we used for loop. I mean, you can also use any other values you like. I just used it so as to give you exposure about all the different syntaxes we can use. And you must be knowing that randint is a function that is used to generate random numbers. And as we have given the range at 35 to 95, so it will generate random numbers between 35 to 95. And for I in range 5, it means it will generate exactly 5 numbers. It was just to give you an exposure of different syntaxes that we can use, nothing else. And moving on to 2.4, in this we just change the orientation of the graph, and we use the parameter called orient is equal to h, where h means horizontal, and this is the graph you will get.
Sir,
Yes, please.
what about the vertical orientation? We just omit the orient keyword, or there's a special word for it?
Yes, by default it is vertical, so you can
Yes.
skip writing this parameter.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
If we don't mention color, will it like give colors automatically?
Yes, it will give it automatically. Actually, all the parameters have a default value. So even if you do not give it a specific value, it will get to its default value, and that will be plotted.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You can learn more about these parameters by going to the documentation of Seaborn. There, all the parameters are listed with examples and description also. So is there any doubt till section 3?
No, sir.
Okay, so moving on, in section 3, we see how to plot a scatter plot. So here what we are doing, just do not see these lines for now. We are taking two lists and then we are plotting it on a scatter plot. And the syntax for this is sns.scatterplot. And if you execute it, this is the output you get. Moving on to 3.2. Here also, we just give the names to the axis and the title using the same syntax we used above. Moving on to 3.3. Here we plot multiple scatter plots in one graph, and you can see that we have taken 4 axes, x1, y1, x2, y2, and then we have plotted them. And here we have given the label names and the color too. And plt.grid is the function of matplotlib, which is used to show the grid lines, as you can see here. So is there any doubt till section 4?
No, sir.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, is there a way to draw the average line? Like in scatter plots, we can usually draw an average line, a line that is nearest to all points. So is it possible to use scatter plot to draw that line? Linear line.
So I suggest you use line plot instead of scatter plot. That will give you the same result.
Excuse me, line.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, how can we do a dynamic representation using this Seaborn?
Sorry, can you repeat?
So, can we do dynamic representation using Seaborn?
So what do you mean by dynamic representation?
A moving graph. If we are developing a model to predict stock market prices, so if the data comes in, then we can have a dynamic moving graph. Actually, basically.
No, that is not possible. So every time the data gets updated, you have to generate the graph again.
Okay, sir.
So if you automate this, sir will teach you after maybe in the next week how to automate the process. then you can just update the graph every time you get new data.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
So moving on to section 4, here we plot a pie chart, and you can see that here we have used grades. So who can tell me what is the data type of grades variable?
Correct, sir. String.
No, sorry, it's not string.
Sir, varchar.
No. Type of grades. So this will give you the data type of variable grades.
So it is giving tuple.
Yes.
But
So
I wanted to
this
ask,
is,
sir, we haven't used parentheses, so is it by default?
so that's why I took this example intentionally. It is just another way to initialize a tuple.
Okay, sir. Sir, I had one more doubt. Sorry, I got the in the previous cell
Okay.
where we were discussing different. Yes, sir. Here in the code, we have used scat1 as a variable to plot the red ones, but in the
Yes.
second one, we have just directly used the library sns.scatterplot.
So you do not need to initialize this to a variable, but as I told you that we have to give the names to the title and the axis. So for that, we have to use a variable. So it
Okay.
is not important to use variable every time, but if you want to assign names, you have to use this because it's the syntax.
Yes,
So
sir.
we have to work with how the syntax works.
Thank you, sir.
And also one more question for everyone. So anyone who can tell me what auto PCT means here, or what's its function?
Sir, I think it has to do something with the values written inside the pie chart.
Floating point variables.
Yes,
So
right,
percent values.
right.
Format it
So
out to
if you
कितने percent जाएगा?
So if you try changing it to 1.4 or 1.2, you will notice the difference yourself. So you can see the precision of the values gets changed. Moving on to 4.2, here we have used two parameters. First is shadow and second is explode. So shadow is just for making the figure look a little bit more realistic. And anyone who can tell me the function of explode?
It isolates data
Isolating.
like a sector.
Yes, right. So if you try changing 0.1 to 0.2, you will notice the difference. Or if you want to change the position, maybe you can give 0.3, 0.1 at the third place. So you can see that the third part gets exploded. So you have to try and experiment with all the parameters. So by that way, you'll learn better. So moving on to section 5. For this, you have to download the dataset with the link that I have provided here and upload it on your collab. And if anyone doesn't know how to upload it, just simply drag and drop here. The file gets uploaded automatically. So please let me know when you are done uploading
Yes,
the
sir.
file.
Yes, sir. Done.
Done, sir.
तो फिर से बताना कैसे prove करना?
So you must be knowing about the read_CSV function. This is how we read a CSV file. And the df.head function is used to print the upper 10 rows, as I have given the parameter 10 here. In 5.4, I have shown you how to read sample data from Collab. There is a sample data folder here, and these are some of the pre-uploaded datasets that are provided by Google Collab. So you can read these also. And in 5.5, I have told you how to upload files if they are uploaded on a Google Drive. So you can see that this icon here, if you click this icon, this will ask you for your permissions. And after that, your Google Drive gets mounted to Collab, and you will see the drive folder here. And from there, you can use the files uploaded in your Google Drive.
So can you please repeat this again?
So 5.5, here I've shown you how to mount your Google Drive to Collab, which means that if you want to access any files that are uploaded on your Google Drive, so just click this icon, third icon, which shows Mount Drive. After you click this icon, you will have to allow the drive for some permissions. And after that, you will see a folder named My Drive here. And from that, you can access all the files you want. So moving on to 5.6, here we take two columns from the data frame df, age and salary. plt.figure is used to change the size of the graph. As there were a lot of values here, so I changed the size of the graph because they were getting overlapped. And when you run this, you will see this is the graph we get. And some of you must be wondering that what is the role of error bar here? So for that, please come to the next section, 5.7. Execute this cell. And one difference is that we have changed the orientation here. And also you can see that there are some black lines here. So this is what error bars are. So we initialized error bars equal to none because I didn't want them to be displayed here. And what error bar shows us is the standard deviation of the data. So as you can see in 37, the black line is a lot elongated. So this means that the data present at 37, it has a greater standard deviation than the other data. So are there any doubts till 5.8?
So 5.5 is giving some error.
Yes, sir. 5.5 is the reason.
Yes, sir.
So it will give an error because the path will be different for everyone. So what you have to do, you have to first upload that file on your Google Drive. Then you have to locate that file. And after that, you can see that when you hover over that file, there are 3 dots here. From here, you have to copy the path and then paste it here. Then it will not give an error.
So mine was in content folder, so I just edited with content, so it worked.
Yes, that is also correct. Actually, we have already read that data here. This was just for your understanding that this is also a method to read the data.
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
Yes.
you explain the error bar thing once again.
So error bars is also a parameter. As you can see, here I initialized error bar is equal to none, and this is the graph we get. But in the next cell, I did not initialize error bar is equal to none. So we get these black lines in the graph, as you can see. So these black lines depict the standard deviation of the data. So the more elongated the black line is, This shows that the standard deviation is more for that particular category.
Okay, sir.
So moving on to 5.8, this is similar to what we did above. Here we plot age and salary on a scatter plot. And here I've used a parameter called marker. So if you try and zoom in this image, you can see that the points are depicted with the star symbol. So if you change this symbol to something else, you'll see that the symbol here also gets changed in the graph. So are there any doubts till section 6?
Sir, 5.8 repeat kar.
Can you repeat?
repeat kar do.
In 5.8, we have used age and salary and we have plotted them on a scatter plot. And here I've used a parameter called marker. As you can see that I have given the marker is equal to star. So if you look at the graph carefully, all the points are represented by a star symbol. If you try changing this to something maybe plus sign, O sign or X sign, the symbol here gets changed by that parameter. So moving on to section 6, here we use a library called math, which is inbuilt in Python. Math library is used to import the mathematical functions such as sine, cos, and m.pi is the pi symbol that we use in mathematics. So instead of writing 3.14, I've used m.pi. So here also I take two lists, x and y. X is the x-axis and it takes value from 0 to 10 and that is multiplied by pi. So we are getting values 0 pi, 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi and so on. And for y, we get the sign for the corresponding values. And when we plot them on a line plot, this is the graph we get. So some of you may be wondering that this doesn't look like a sine waveform. So for that, I need you to come to the next cell. Here we have used library called NumPy. And just for a note, Pandas and NumPy, these both are the most important libraries for data analytics. So you need to know them. We have used NumPy here because I wanted to take more points. For example, here we have taken just 10 points for I in range 0, 10. And I wanted to take more points. So I gave it the range 0, 4 pi and I took the step size of 0.1. So by this, we got more points and our graph became smooth. Similarly, I did the same for the cos waveform. You can try and execute this cell. So are there any doubts till section 7?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you please explain once again how we made the curve using NumPy?
Okay, so what I did is that here we were getting straight lines because the first point we took was here at 0 and the second point I took was here, which is pi. So between them there were no points, so they were joined by a straight line. But if we increase the number of points using the np.arrange function, the graph we get is more like what we know about sine. And for that I have used np.arrange, which is a function of NumPy library. And what it does is that it takes three parameters. The first two parameters are the range, as here we have taken 0, 4 pi, and the step size, which is the increment of every point. So in between 2 points, there will be a difference of 0.1. So, and it gives us points which are further plotted corresponding to the y, which is sin x.
Yes, got it. Thank you.
And this same we have done here for cos.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so moving on to section 7. Here we can see if we want to plot two waveforms in the same graph. So here also nothing's changed. Just use the syntax as I've shown here. And I used Z here because I wanted to give it a title. You can also give it x-axis and y-axis using set_x label and set_y label. And as I already told, Seaborn automatically color codes the different waveforms. Moving ahead, here we see if we want to represent two graphs, the same image, but we want them to be partitioned. So for that, we use a function called subplot. So as you can see, just a second, your output may be different than mine. Let me correct it. So this is the graph you all would be getting when you execute the cell. So here what we do is we use the function called subplot, and it takes 3 parameters. The first 2 parameters are the dimensions. As you can see, we gave it 2,1. So we get 2 rows and 1 column. And the third parameter is the position of the graph we want it to be positioned at. So I wanted the sine graph to be positioned at first position. So I gave it 2,1,1. And I wanted the cos graph to be positioned at second row. So I gave it 2,1,2. If you try changing it, instead of 2,1, give it 1,2. And then execute the cell. So now you can see that from 2 rows and 1 column, we have gone to 1 row and 2 columns. So I hope you are understanding that how the parameters work.
Yes, sir.
सर एक डाउट था
Yes.
जो हमने यहाँ पे कोड में लिखा हुआ है z इज इक्वल टू SNS लाइन प्लॉट x इक्वल्स टू x एंड कॉमा y इक्वल्स टू y cos या y sin.
Yes.
प्लीज एक बार इसका बता दोगे सिग्निफिकेंस क्या था?
इसका सिग्निफिकेंस ये है कि हमने एक x ले लिया यहाँ पे, जो कि मैंने ऊपर समझाया, np.range फंक्शन यूज किया. ये हमें एक लिस्ट रिटर्न करेगा. और फिर हमने y_sin लिया, जो कि हर x की वैल्यू के लिए हमें sin की कोरस्पॉन्डिंग वैल्यू देगा.
ठीक है.
और हमने उसको यहाँ पे प्लॉट किया लाइन प्लॉट पे, जिसमें x है x एक्सिस और y_cos है y एक्सिस.
ओके ठीक है.
So moving on to section 8, here we understand how to generate a box plot. So as you can see in the third line, I've used a function np.random.normal. So this may be a little difficult for some of you to understand, but I have given a little description about it here. Please read this description. So I use this function just to show you how box plot works. We can also, if we try plotting it on a simple list as we took above, like 0 to 6 and 1 to 5 maybe, so there's no use of box plot. But why I use this function here, because it will give us 3 lists which have different standard deviations. And box plot is used to visualize those standard deviations. As you can see, when you run this cell, this is the graph we get. And when you execute the next cell, here we have changed the orientation of the graph. Here we get 3 box plots because we have initialized 3 lists or numpy arrays, as you may say. And here I've given a little description about what these box plots represent.
What
So
are
you can
those
see,
dots in the graph?
yes, I'm just coming to that. You can see that there are some dots besides the graph. Like you can see here and here. So these are called outliers. So what outliers means is that we have a range of data that is very similar to each other. For example, we have a group of students whose CG is between 7 and 8. So, but then there a student joins the group who has a CG of 9.5. So that student is an outlier because it doesn't lie in the range of 7 and 8. Or if another student joins whose CG is very less, like 3, so that person is also outlier. So outlier generally means that it is different from the group of data that we are visualizing. So or we can also say it as an exception case. So are there any doubts till section 9?
सर ये इमेज एक बार एक्सप्लेन कर दोगे?
So this image tells us about what box plot represents. Here we have the outliers on both the sides, and these are the interquartile ranges. As you may have studied them in your school, these represent the percentile Q1 and Q3. So there is a mathematical formula for this, which I would not be covering in this session, and you can explore that on it by yourself. Moving to section 9, you need to download this dataset and upload it on your Colab. So I hope everyone has uploaded the CSV file. So just for your note, this section is a little bit advanced. So maybe some of you may not be able to understand this. And this is a time series dataset. So what time series dataset means is that it's the data that keeps changing from time to time. For example, the stock market data. So after every set interval, the data gets changed. And that, when coupled with the time, is called a time series dataset. So here we read the CSV file, and here we use 4 parameters: header, index call, parse dates, and squeeze. So I have given a little description about them here, so you can read that. And if you have any doubts, you can ask. So shall I move to the next section?
Yes.
Okay. So in 9.4, you can see that we plot the series data on a line plot. So when you execute this cell, it will take a little bit time because the time series data is a little bit hard to process. And in case if you don't use this parameter here, which is parse underscore dates, then the time taken will be even more. Because parse underscore dates helps to understand that the given value is a date and it converts it into object, which makes it easier to process and saves time. So you can try erasing parse underscore dates and then execute both the cells again, and you'll notice the time difference.
So can you please tell this past dates again?
So parse dates parameter, what it does is that it tells pandas that there may be dates present in the dataset. So what pandas does is that it recognizes those dates and converts them into datetime object. So what's the benefit of this is that datetime objects are easier to process, and when you plot graphs, so the processing will be faster.
Okay, sir.
Similarly, in 9.5, we plot the same data just using a scatter plot. So moving on to 9.6. Here we use a function called grouper and group by. What it does is that it groups the values according to the parameter that we have given here. Here we have given frac is equal to a, where a is annual. So this function groups the data that changes annually and make a separate category for it. And we initialize years to a data frame. And this is the syntax we use. If you are not able to understand this, I have also given a description below. And when you run this cell, this is the graph you will get.
So what is legend usually?
Legend is the symbol that you get on the side of the graph, denoting what each graph represents.
Sir, can you please explain line number 4?
Okay, so line number 4. Here you can see this. Just read this once and then I'll explain.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, will Seaborn library work the same in any IDE as it does in Google Colab?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So years name.year, this is used to initialize a new column into the data frame. As I said that here we group them. Here we group the data
Annually.
annually and then we put it together in a new column. So that is the function of line 4.
Okay.
And this is a great way to represent a data. For example, there is a ECG signal. You can represent them side by side using this.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope you know what an ECG signal is. Okay, so moving on to section 9.7. Here we plot a disk plot. So some of you may be wondering, because it looks somewhat like a histogram, but it's not a histogram. And what the difference between disk plot and histogram? This is a statistical concept. So I'll not be covering it here because it will require a lot of time, as it is, I would have to go into them. Moving on to 9.8, here we plot a KDE plot. What KDE is, KDE means kernel density estimate. So this is also a statistical concept, which, sorry, I would not be covering in this session. And this part, 9.9, here we plot a viscous plot. So it is similar to a box plot, as you can see, and these circles are the outliers. And the difference between box plot and viscous plot also lies in their mathematical formulation. So you'll have to explore that by yourself. And coming to 9.10, here we plot what is called as a heat map. So what a heat map does is that it shows us the density of the values in a given region. So you can see that the part between 150 and 200 is colored dark in comparison to the areas in the left side and right side. So it means that most of the values in the dataset lie between 150 to 200.
So can you explain line number 7 and 8?
So line number 8 is the syntax to plot a heat map.
Okay,
And
sir.
line number 7, just like line number 6, this is used to initialize a new column in the data frame.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Coming on to 9.11, here we understand how to plot a lag plot. So also this looks like the scatter plot, but again, the difference is in their statistical representation, and you will have to explore that by yourself. Similarly, coming to the last section, that is 9.12, here we plot what is called a autocorrelation plot. So we are finished with data visualization. If you have any doubts, you can ask.
Sir, I had one doubt.
Yes, please.
In majority of the graphs where we have common value 0 in x and y axis, I have noticed that they are not at the same as we do in daily practice. So is there a way to set this using code, like setting the offset or something?
No, actually, if you plot a scatter plot, they will be at the same level, but not here. Because as I told you, this representation is different and this is a little bit out of scope, but I decided to cover it just for your exposure so that you maybe so that you just know that these things also exist.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, earlier I was cut off because of internet issues, but in the scatter plot, is it possible to make the line of best fit along with the scatter plot using SNS?
Yes, that is also possible. You can go and explore the documentation of the Seaborn, and there when you open the scatter plot, there are examples given how to modify it, and there you can see the best fit line also.
Thank you, sir.
So
Yes.
For the first example that we discussed in the visualization, which was the representation of a line, what if I want
Okay.
to pass that line from the origin? Is there a way?
For the origin, I think sorry, I don't know. I will have to explore it. Actually, the zero starts from here. So that's
Yes, sir.
why the origin actually lies here according to this graph. That's why it starts from here. So this is
Yes,
just
sir.
how Seaborn represents the graphs, and there is nothing we can do about it. But yes, you can explore the documentation. There may be a parameter to change this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Sir, is there a way to export these PNG files or JPG files that are created by this library?
yes, as I told you in section 1.2 or section 1.3, you can export these images using the given syntax.
Okay, sir.
So is there any other doubt, or we can end the first session?
Class, any question, doubt? Okay, Raghav, thank you very much. Thanks for the nice introduction about data visualization using Seaborn. Class, let's take a break for 15 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so let's meet at 4. Just wait for one minute. Okay, class, let's wait for break for 15 minutes. So right now 4:10 is there, so kindly return back by 4:25.
Sir,
Yes.
And for that, before we begin, you will have to download data.csv, because this is the dataset on which we will do EDA. So you can see here is a download icon. You can download this file from here. And if you are unable to download, just open
So
the
your
file
screen
and
isn't shared.
okay, thank you, Jamin. So before proceeding, first download this data.csv file. And you can use this download icon here, download it. Or if some of you may be having an error to download this, so Adil has sent the file in the chat box. You can download the file from there if you are facing any issues. And then please open this notebook in Colab.
So do we have to upload the data set in this collab as well or not?
Yes, you have to upload this.
Okay.
So let's start with the introduction of what EDA is. So EDA is basically the first step of machine learning, and it is one of the most important parts of data analytics or data science. And what we do in EDA is that we analyze the data and analyze the trends. We recognize the pattern of the data. So for example, to give you an idea of what machine learning is, we have a data, and from that data, we recognize any patterns that may exist. For example, if we are traveling from Patiala to Chandigarh, and if I say that at the speed of 10 kilometers per hour, it takes 1 hour. And then I say that if we double the speed, the time gets reduced to half. So if the speed is 20, then the time becomes 30 minutes. And just for now, assume that you don't know the formula about time. And then I ask you, if I double the speed again, making it 40 kilometers per hour, so what is the expected time?
1/4 of the original.
Yes, so which is 15 minutes. So this is what we do in machine learning. We train a model on a given data set, which analyzes any patterns in the data. And then when we ask it about another data, it gives us the answer based on the pattern it recognizes. So similarly, in EDA, what we do is we recognize the patterns using taking the help of graphs and maps. So you can read this theory that I have given here. And this is the description about the dataset that we are using today. So our today's task is to find the best feature. Feature is, for example, I gave you the information about speed. So speed is a feature, and what we predicted was time. So here we have to find the best feature to predict the prices of cars. So in the dataset, we are given various features, for example, transmission type, fuel type, engine type, and we have to analyze all these features and predict the price of the cars. So let's start by importing the libraries. So you already know about these 4 libraries. And then we load the CSV file into a data frame. So you can see this is how our CSV file looks like. So you can see that make, model, year, engine fuel type, engine HP, engine cylinders, all these are features. And the MSRP is the column that we have to predict. So we have to analyze all these features, and then we have to predict the MSRP of the corresponding car. So I hope everybody is clear till here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So moving on to section 3. Here we check the data types of all the columns. So the year is a data type of int64, model is an object, transmission type is an object, and engine cylinder is a data type of float64. So now there may be a situation that some columns are irrelevant in the data, means they do not contribute to the prediction column, which here is MSRP. So in order to improve the prediction, we drop these irrelevant columns. For example, what I do here, I check the number of unique values that are present in the column engine fuel type. So for that, I use the function that is defined in pandas library, which is called unique. So when you execute the cell, this is the output we get. So here we get 10 types of fuels that are listed in the dataset. So for 10 types of fuels, there are 10,000 rows of cars that is available. So means that each fuel type contributes to approximately 100 columns, or maybe, sorry, 1,000 columns. So we can say that there is not a good relation between the fuel type and the MSRP. So we drop these columns using the function df.drop.
Sir, can you explain this again?
Sure. So I'm saying that sometimes there may exist a situation that the data is irrelevant to the predictions we want to make. For example, here I calculated the number of unique values that are present in engine fuel type column, and then we get these 10 types of fuels. So I'm saying that, for example, if I say that B means bat and B means boat, but if I ask you what is B, you will be confused that whether it is bat or boat. So the same thing is happening here. For one fuel type, there are a lot of different values of MSRP. So what we do, we drop this column as it can create confusion.
Okay.
And we drop it using df.drop, which is defined in pandas library. And if you are wondering about the parameter axis, I've given a little description about it at below. So coming to section 5, here what we are doing is nothing. It's just that we are renaming the columns for better clarity. For example, we rename engine HP to HP, engine cylinders to cylinder, and so on. This does not contribute to any accuracy increase or something. This is just for our convenience. And for that, we use the function rename, which is defined in pandas. So before moving to section 6, are there any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, now there is a small task for you. There may exist some rows that have data which is exactly the copy. So that gives rise to redundancy, and we don't want that. So your task is to detect the rows that are duplicates and remove them from the data frame. And for that, you have 5 minutes. So you have until 4:45 to execute this task. Still, if anybody is not clear about the task, you can ask me again.
Sir, could you please repeat the task? I was disconnected.
Okay, so the task is, there are some rows in the dataset that are exact copies of each other, which gives rise to redundancy, which we do not want. So your task is to remove all that duplicate layers and keep exactly one layer that is unique. So you can take help from the internet.
So can we use drop duplicates function?
Please repeat.
Sir, is there like can we use drop duplicate function with the parameter?
So please wait until 4:45. I'll give you the explanation after that. So in the time being, think about any alternative methods. So time's up. Please raise your hands, whoever have completed the task. Okay, so one person has completed. Two. So just two people have done this. Okay, so Adamme, please tell us about your approach.
When you said to explore through internet, I found out about the drop duplicates function in Panda. One is that
Okay.
approach. The other could be but that is a quite long one. We have to run a sort of command using the loop, accessing each and every row, and then comparing the columns having the same values. First, we have to group them, and then we have to clear the data set out of it. But that is a quite long approach.
Yes, right. So thank you, Adamme. And who was the second person?
So the approach, so I was the second person. The approach I saw was also similar to what Adame just said, the drop duplicates function. The other one I didn't come across, I just came across the drop duplicates portion.
Okay, fine. So the approach we use here is we use the drop duplicate function that is defined in the pandas library. So first what we do is we check the shape of the data frame and then we calculate the number of duplicate rows. So you can see the number of duplicate rows here are 750. And we have to drop these layers, these rows. And for that, first we check the df.count. This is just to show you the difference before and after dropping the duplicate rows. So you can see that we have 11,914 rows And after we execute the function drop underscore duplicates, the number of rows that remain are 11,199. So we know that the duplicate rows have been dropped. As you can see, the number of rows has changed. Now coming to section 7. So there may also exist situations, for example, in real world data, not all values are present. There may be some missing or null values, as the data is not ideal, we can say. So these null values hinder the prediction accuracy of our model. So what we do is that we drop these values from the rows, or this is one of the methods. The second method which we use is that we take the mean of the values one row above and one row below the cell, and we calculate the mean and assign it to the cell. But we'll not be discussing that approach here. What we'll be doing is we will be dropping these null values straightly. So this is the syntax to calculate the number of null values in the data frame. So you can see that in engine fuel type, three null values are present, and in market category, 3,000, more than 3,000 null values are present. So what we do is that we drop these values using the function drop NA. So after dropping the values, 7,735 rows remain. And again, you can check if there still exist any null values, and you can see that no null values are present now. So are there any doubts till section 8? So coming on to section 8, this is what we discussed in the previous session, that is outliers. So please read this description, and also I have given a link to a blog at towards data science. You can read that as well. So coming to the first cell, yes.
So what do we do after like detecting the outliers?
So just give me a minute, I'll come to that.
Yes.
So first we plot horsepower column using a box plot. And this is the graph we get. And we can see that there are a lot of outliers in this data column. And similarly for price, in price also a lot of outliers are there. So one of the approach to handle these outliers is to remove them. Just like we remove the, wait a minute, let me complete. Just like we remove the null values in the above section, what we can do is we can also remove these outliers. So yes.
So could you briefly explain the concept of box plot?
So please refer to this image that I have given here. This is what box plot represents. The circles that you can see at the sides, these are the outliers, like I explained in the previous session. And our job is to handle these outliers. And as I already told, one of the methods to handle them is to remove them. And the other methods, that is your homework to explore, that how we can handle outliers. And I have also given a link to a blog here. You can explore this as well. So moving on to section 9. Here, yes.
एरर आ रहा था पता नहीं
कौन से सेल में?
8 में XP वाले में
मैंने अभी आपके सामने एग्जीक्यूट किया, देखो कोई एरर नहीं, आपने कुछ ऊपर मिस किया हो।
ऊपर सारे एग्जीक्यूटेड है
यस सर, ऊपर सारे एग्जीक्यूटेड है लेकिन मेरा भी एरर आ रहा है।
क्या एरर आ रहा है?
सर की एरर एचपी आ रहा है।
आपने फिर रीनेम वाला सेल नहीं एग्जीक्यूट किया होगा।
रीनेम वाला सेल, अच्छा यस सर, हाँ वो ऊपर रह गया था।
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So as you told me, just remove. There is one approach is to remove the outliers.
Yes.
So we have any automated command for that also?
No, for that you'll have to detect them, or what you can do, you can use the group by function that I told about you in the previous session, and you can group the values that are close to each other, and the outliers will get grouped in another section, and you can remove them from there collectively.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So this is one of the approach that I told you about. There are many more approaches, and your job is to explore them and come up with better approaches.
Yes, sir.
So moving to section 9, here we plot a histogram between the number of cars made by respective companies. So we can see that Chevrolet makes most of the cars that are present in the dataset, followed by Ford and followed by Volkswagen.
So can you explain the first line there, the functions we have used?
Okay, so what's here is that there were a lot of companies that were producing cars. So what I did was that I took out the companies that were producing major counts of the car. So I used the function dot n largest, and I took out the top companies that were manufacturing the cars and I plotted them. Because some companies that are producing very little cars, they may be irrelevant here as they do not contribute to the dataset.
Yes, sir.
And similarly, in this cell, we plotted a histogram of the column year.
Can you explain deleting outliers again?
So static.
Sorry, pardon.
Can you explain deleting outliers again?
So let me complete this first. You can ask that about after the session. So moving on to scatter plot. Here we plot a scatter plot between HP and the price of the cars. And as I already mentioned that this this command is used to change the size of the graph. And this is the graph we get. And as you can see, we can roughly make out that with the increase in HP, the price also increases. So this is a rough indication that horsepower is directly proportional to price. So we should keep this in mind so that we can make a better prediction and for a better accuracy. And if you are unable
sir-
to, yes,
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but so the statement you just said, like horsepower is directly proportional to price. So we can, so is it like we can take this as a pattern for machine learning? Like, could this be
yes,
one of the
that's
patterns?
what I was going to tell you, that you can just keep a note of this in your mind, that horsepower is directly related to price. So when
Yes.
we make prediction, we'll give this more priority over other features.
Okay, sir.
And in case you are unable to make it, we plot the same graph using line plot. And here you can see in a clearer way that horsepower, with increase in horsepower, the price increases.
Yes, sir.
Now coming to heat maps, as I showed one example to you in the previous session. So what we do here is we use the function df.core. So what this function does is that it calculates the correlation between two features. For example, what correlation means is that if one entity is increasing and the other one is also increasing, so means there is a correlation between them, that they are directly proportional, and correlation ranges between -1 to 1. So if the correlation between two features is 1, it means that with increase in one feature, the other also increases. And if it is -1, it means that with increase in one, the other will decrease. But in case the correlation is 0, that means that both the features do not have any relation between them. And we need to, that also tells us that that feature is irrelevant and we need to drop that from our data frame. So what we do here is we calculate the correlation and we plot this heat map. And as you can see, for price, this is the correlation of price with every other feature. And as here you can see, this is one, it is because both the features are priced. So obviously they have the same values. That's why we are getting one correlation here. And you can see that HP has the greatest correlation, that is nearest to 1. So this signifies that what we inferenced from this graph, that horsepower increases with the price or price increases with horsepower, this is justified here. So this is a mathematical example, mathematical evidence of this statement. So when we will learn about machine learning, so you know that HP is the most important feature if we want to predict the price of car. And after horsepower, we have number of cylinders, which is also an important feature. As you can see, it's approximately 0.6. But the other features like popularity, it is minus 0.055. So it's almost very near, close to 0. So we know that this does not contribute to the MSRP of the vehicle. So this is an irrelevant column and we can drop it. Similarly, MPGH and MPGC, these are also near to 0. If they would have been nearer to -1, then we can say that they hold more priority among other features. So this is the end of EDA, and what our final task was to check the feature that has the most importance in the given features. which has come out to be horsepower. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask me.
So, sir, heat diagram is like one of the most appropriate way to assess multiple factors as we had in this set of question.
Actually, it depends on the type of data. So you'll be encountering different types of data. So this is one of the simplest way, and I thought that it would be easier for you to understand this. So I
Yes,
took
sir.
the help of heat map.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay. So you may also be wondering that why do we need EDA still? What if we straight away just put all the data in the model and let the model do the work? Actually, the thing is that sometimes the data is very large and we do not have enough resources to process it. So what we do is that we do EDA of the data and we calculate the columns that are irrelevant and we drop them. So that saves us RAM and processing power. So EDA and sometimes model is not able to do all the work by itself. We need to help it more. So we do this exploratory data analysis of the given data set. So we can, for example, if I will train a model to predict the price, I'll tell the model that give more priority to horsepower because it is contributing much more to the price than the other features. So that way our prediction accuracy will increase. So this is the importance of EDA.
Could you please share your experience that is in the Amazon hackathon?
Yes, sir, sure. So just a month ago, me and Adil, we both were participating in the Amazon ML challenge. And the problem we encountered was that the number of rows in that data were 20 lakh and the number of columns were around 1000. So you can imagine how big a data set it was. And in spite of having 32 GB of RAM, we were still not able to process it because the data set was such large that the RAM kept crashing. So what we did was that we did EDA. We found out the columns that were irrelevant to our prediction. We dropped them and we took out a part of the data that is more important, and that will help us to increase the accuracy. So we took out that data. The number of rows got reduced from 20 lakh to 5 lakh, and the number of columns also got reduced. And then we were able to handle that data. So EDA also helps us to, in case we have limited uh, processing resources, although 32 GB of RAM is not less, but still that data set was such large that we have to take some steps to handle it. So that is also one of the importance of EDA.
Okay. So now class, welcome back. And now let's me cover the resource of the day. This is one of the important resource for you people. So there are two important terms. Number one is mini projects, major projects, and second one is GitHub. So first open GitHub README. Just click on the link. Just open GitHub README. So it will redirect you to my GitHub homepage, GitHub page. And I'm requesting all of you, those who are doing any projects, so kindly maintain and beautify your README file. Okay, so let's suppose this is your project title, facial expression recognition. So this project title automatically tell ki kya exactly hum isme kar rahe hain. The very first step is methodology. So whenever you are beautify or you are going to explain any project to anyone, so first you need to define what is the methodology. So just see here, I just draw a flow chart. So very first is data collection, data pre-processing, model training, testing, and result analysis. So this is a very generic workflow, and in 99% cases of the machine learning or deep learning projects, so this methodology can work. Okay. Now, next is description. So that gives the brief idea about how many number of images are there, how many expressions are there, which is the best model, what is the accuracy, what are the other information. When other information you can use, what is the data source, what is the size of the images, what are the different pre-processing technique you used. Okay. The brief description, not make the README file bulky. Third is input output. So that's completely show you what is the input and output. So let's suppose there are 5 test images. What exactly is happy, sad, neutral, happy, happy. After that, what models predicted. So out of 5, 4 is correct and 1 is wrong. So that can be very easily understandable. In मेरा model ने 5 में से 80% इसने accuracy दी अपने को. In the next part, I also recommend all of you that please develop a standalone application, web-based applications. Okay, so let's suppose you deploy the solution on your local machine or any other free server. Then let's suppose anyone can browse the single face file or multiple face file. Just give the email ID and submit it. Then the backend process, all your images will be processed, and that can be calculated what is the expression, and the result will be sent back to the email ID. So this is the complete brief description of every project. Now the thing is that whenever you are creating such type of README file, and if you are reopen that file after 10 years, 15 years, or even 20 years, okay, so you can easily explain to anyone because that is a very generic. But if you make your README file bulky, you are writing a 30 lines code, 30 line explanation. After 2 months, you cannot even recognize कि क्या लिखा है, क्या उसका मतलब है, क्या outcome मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ. Okay, so I write here minimum text is there, and maximum output, input output is there, screenshot of the application is there. तो ये चीजें आपको रखनी है. So let's suppose if somebody want कि हाँ आपको interview देना है, so keep one thing in mind, बताना and दिखा के बताना, both are different things. ठीक है? Because let's suppose you are handling an interview, and interview वाला आपसे पूछता है कि हाँ भैया क्या क्या project आपने किए हैं, तो just show him this GitHub repository. And interview is like driving a car. तो steering हमेशा अपने हाथ में रखना है. तो steering अपने आप में रखने का मतलब है उसे वही चीजें दिखाओ जो आपको आती हैं. Now अब interview वाला being as an interviewer, let's suppose you are showing your project to me. अब मैं इसी में से क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा. अच्छा बताओ कि प्री प्रोसेसिंग में क्या क्या आपने स्टेप हैंडल किए हैं, कैसे कैसे प्रोसेस किया है, इमेजेस में ग्रे स्केल किया है नहीं किया है, कौन सी लाइब्रेरी आपने प्री प्रोसेसिंग में यूज की है. तो दीज आर द सम टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स जो आपको ध्यान में रखनी है whenever you are handling an interview. Okay, so I request all of you जो भी आपको ये चीजें whenever you are handling अपना जो प्रोजेक्ट सजाएंगे तो उसको इस तरह से सजाना है. I will send this readme content, जैसे मैं यहाँ पे इसको एडिट कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि मैंने यहाँ पे इमेजेस भी डाली हुई हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें डाली हैं. तो दिस इज द कंटेंट. तो ये मैं कॉपी करके आपको सेंड कर दूंगा. तो यू कैन इजीली थोड़ा सा इसको मॉडिफाई करना है, देखना है कि हाउ इमेज इज पुट हेयर, हाउ द टेक्स्ट इज देयर, हाउ क्या क्या चीजें मैंने यहाँ पे की है. तो ये मैं ग्रुप में मेल कर दूंगा आप सभी लोगों को. तो यू कैन एनालाइज कि हाँ भी क्या एग्जैक्टली हो रहा है यहाँ पे. ओके, तो आई होप ये चीजें क्लियर हो गई कि अपने प्रोजेक्ट को कैसे आपको अच्छी तरह सजाना है.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now come back to the second resource, that is mini major projects. So just click here. अब देखिए मैंने इन छोटी छोटी चीजों की भी रिपोजिटरी बनाई हुई है। अब कुल मिला के क्या है, ये मेरी पूरी रिपोजिटरी काउंट को नंबर इंक्रीज कर रहा है। तो आप सभी से रिक्वेस्ट है, जो भी आप प्रोजेक्ट्स कर रहे हैं उसकी एक सिंगल बनाओ, ऐसा नहीं कि उसके फोल्डर के अंदर फोल्डर बना रहे हो, ठीक है। आई वांट कि आपकी नंबर ऑफ रिपोजिटरीज इंक्रीज हो जाए। नाउ कम बैक टू दिस लिंक। सो देयर आर major and minor projects are there. So there are two links for minor project. So just press Control and click करो इस पे, and second link पे. So the first is repository of the Krishna Naik, and second is repository by Patel साहब. तो अभी मैं आपको सामने थोड़ा दोनों repository डिस्कस करने वाला हूँ. Yes, class, this is Krishna Naik. This is wonderful person. उसका एक बहुत अच्छा YouTube चैनल भी है, and just see here, it has 274 repositories are there. अब उसने क्या कर रखा है? Let's suppose just see the very first project, chicken disease classification project. Okay, so just see यहाँ पे notebook भी available है, ठीक है। From the day 2 we are working on Google Colab, Jupyter notebook पे हम काम कर रहे हैं, ठीक है। तो you can also analyze कि यहाँ उसमें कुछ नहीं होता है, just data को include करो, import करो, model train करो, test करो, blah blah, multiple चीज़ steps are there, ठीक है। तो आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि यहाँ से मल्टीपल प्रोजेक्ट्स, मिनी प्रोजेक्ट्स वो प्रोजेक्ट्स जिनके कोड अवेलेबल है, तो उनको उससे प्रैक्टिस करना है आपको। उनको थोड़ा सा अच्छा सा करो, मॉडिफाई करो और अपने गिटहब पे उसको एक्सपोर्ट कर दीजिए, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट इज टेक्स्ट समराइजेशन। तो एनएलपी का एक प्रोजेक्ट है। सो लेट्स सपोज चैट जीपीटी भी अपना वही काम करता है। लेट्स सपोज यू कॉपी वन टेक्स्ट एंड जस्ट राइट समराइज द बिलो टेक्स्ट इन 20 लाइन्स। तो चैट जीपीटी आपके लिए कंप्लीटली समराइज कर देगा। बट हेयर यू कैन क्रिएट योर ओन लाइब्रेरी, ओन प्रोजेक्ट, खुद का लाइब्रेरी जो यूज कर रहे हैं, खुद को टेक्स्ट को प्रोसेसिंग कर रहे हैं, यू फैमिलियर विद द की व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट स्टेप्स आर इन्वॉल्वड हियर। ये चीज आपको करनी है, ओके। तो मल्टीपल एंड वंडरफुल रिपोजिटरीज आर देयर, लाइक डायमंड प्राइस प्रेडिक्शन। सो दैट कैन बी वन ऑफ योर प्रोजेक्ट, डायमंड के प्राइस को प्रिडिक्ट करना है। तो लेट्स सपोज यू हैव अ डायमंड प्राइस फ्रॉम लास्ट 50 years, पर मंथ का आपको डायमंड प्राइस दिया हुआ है, एंड सो वी कैन रिकॉग्नाइज, वी कैन प्रिडिक्ट फॉर द नेक्स्ट मंथ, next 2 months, next 6 months, or next year the price of the diamond prices.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
sir. But isn't it considered we are not supposed to we are not, it is not possible to predict a price or the stock market using machine learning, because
देखो, wait. हाँ, और क्वेश्चन कंप्लीट करो अपना।
Yes, sir. The question was, how exactly does that code work? Does it consider different aspects that influence diamond prices, or does it just consider past prices and the trend that?
Yes. So this is known as time series problem, ठीक है। जैसा अभी राघव ने डेटा सेट लोड किया था कि we have a time bound data set, कि every day का डेटा अपने पास इतना है, then what will be the price for the next month. So handling the time series data require different machine learning models, ठीक है। There are several models जो time series data को handle करते हैं, and वो machine learning के session में मैं complete करूँगा, okay। But the thing is that in core machine learning parts there are 3 types of problem: classification, regression, and clustering, ठीक है। So these are the things will be covered by the next week. So for the time being, just note down all your questions. जो भी कुछ पूछना है ना मुझसे आप तभी पूछिएगा। अभी right now I am focusing on this project. So let's suppose one of the project is cotton disease prediction. Okay, so let's suppose the time that as the title suggests, cotton disease prediction. So means you have images of cotton, means the cottons that having the disease, and rest is fresh cotton is there. Okay, so 2 type of images are there. We are going to build a model, and that model will help us. Let's suppose a new image will come, then it will able to find कि किस type की disease है। Okay, so Jupyter is there, so please make it, open करो, उसको देखो, जो notebook given है उसको explore करो जैसा हमने आपको कराया है। So that can be every day you can do at least one project. Agree? Because notebook is there, data set भी वहीं पे रहेगा, documentation भी वहीं पे रहेगी, and even you can find the just copy and you go to the YouTube, ठीक है। वहाँ पे आपको कृष्णा की complete video भी मिल जाएगी उस particular projects के लिए। So the objective here is that in single day you can do at least one project. ठीक है. Similarly, you will find different projects like flight price prediction. So that can be a one mini project. So at least you do 20, 25, 30 mini projects. So that will explain you what is the workflow. And end of the day, you will find कि यार सबका workflow एक जैसा ही है. Data लिया हमने, उसको model पे train किया and then optimize किया and finally prediction किया. Got it? And after that, we need to compare multiple models. कि किस मॉडल को हमें डिप्लॉयमेंट में ले जाना है, उसकी हमें के फोल्ड टेस्टिंग करनी है. ये सारे जो टर्म्स में भी बात कर रहा हूँ, आई विल कवर इन द नेक्स्ट वीक.
सर लाइक अभी तो इन रेपोज में डेटा सेट अवेलेबल होगा, बट इफ वी आर वर्किंग ऑन सम अदर प्रोजेक्ट और हमें खुद का डेटा सेट लेके आना है, तो वो कहाँ से इकट्ठा कर सकते हैं?
वो सब बताऊंगा यार, सब बताऊंगा, सब चीजें हैं, बहुत चीजें मैंने आपके लिए रखी हुई हैं. वो सब चीज धीरे धीरे टाइम पे आने दो. बट यहाँ पे जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि आपको प्रोजेक्ट्स की प्रैक्टिस कहाँ से करनी है, वो ऑब्जेक्टिव है मेरा अभी. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, डायबिटीज प्रिडिक्शन. सो लेट्स सपोज यू हैव अ डेटा सेट गिवन डोनेटेड बाय सम हॉस्पिटल, जो डायबिटीज डेटा है और पेशेंट्स का दिया है, एंड यू वांट टू बिल्ड सम मॉडल बिल्ड करना है. सो वो चीज यहाँ पे प्रोजेक्ट है. इसी तरह सिमिलरली फॉरेस्ट फायर डिटेक्शन, कि हमारे फॉरेस्ट में फायर लग गई है एंड वी हैव कुछ हमारे कैमरास लगे हैं या ड्रोन से हमने इमेजेस लिए हैं, तो उसको कैसे डिटेक्ट करना है. ओके. स्टॉक सेंटिमेंट एनालिसिस. ओके. तो दिस इज अ स्टॉक की सेंटिमेंट एनालिसिस कैसे करनी है. दिस कैन बी वन ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट. एंड दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. अभी जो हमने राघव ने आपको 1 घंटे में ईडीए कराया है, वो एक करीब 70-60% हमने कवर ऑलरेडी कर लिया है. बट उसके अलावा और भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. जैसे अभी हम आप क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे थे कि इसको फीचर इंजीनियरिंग बोलते हैं, कि हमें पूरा डेटा रखना चाहिए, थोड़ा डेटा रखना चाहिए, ओरिजिनल में से रिमूव कर देना चाहिए. तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स, ठीक है, वो भी मैं कवर करूंगा. बट यू कैन ऑल्सो प्रैक्टिस इट. आज के टाइम पे यार कोई चीज पूछने के लिए नहीं है. You can easily just go to the Google or ChatGPT or any other LLM model, वो आपको बता देगा कि क्या करना है. But thing is that learning by doing, करके सीखो. ठीक है, ये important चीज है. So class, this is a long list of repositories, projects. If you go to the next, you will find more projects. Okay, like interview preparation data science, इसको भी आप देख सकते हो क्या है. ठीक है. मशीन लर्निंग इन 90 डेज. तो 90 डेज में आजकल कोई मशीन लर्निंग नहीं होती है. ठीक है, वो बहुत कम डेज में हो जाती है. इफ यू आर फैमिलियर विद सम पाइथन एंड सम लाइब्रेरीज ऑफ पाइथन में जो कुछ लाइब्रेरी आपको पता होनी चाहिए. अब देखो कुछ सिंपल प्राइजेस हैं यहाँ पे. बॉस्टन हाउस प्राइसिंग, ठीक है, क्रेडिट कार्ड फ्रॉड डिटेक्शन, कार प्राइस प्रिडिक्शंस, मलेरिया डिटेक्शन. तो दैट कैन बी द मिनी प्रोजेक्ट्स फॉर योर लर्निंग. तो मेगा ऑब्जेक्टिव आपके लिए है, बिफोर कंप्लीटिंग दिस समर स्कूल, आपके रेपो में एटलीस्ट 20 मिनी प्रोजेक्ट्स होने चाहिए. ऑल्दो हम भी आपको दे रहे हैं, बट आपके खुद भी होने चाहिए. तो एटलीस्ट 50 to 70 और 100 रिपोजिटरी काउंट आपका होना चाहिए एंड ऑफ द दिस समर स्कूल. ठीक है, ये मेगा ऑब्जेक्टिव आप लोगों के लिए है. तो दिस इज अ वेरी
प्रोजेक्ट और मेजर प्रोजेक्ट में मेन अंतर क्या होता है, डिफरेंस क्या होता है?
अभी जस्ट लेट मी फिनिश. सो ये मिनी प्रोजेक्ट्स है जिनके कोड अवेलेबल है, उनको आपको एग्जीक्यूट करना है. नेक्स्ट है, जो नेक्स्ट लिंक मैंने आपको दिया हुआ है, तो दैट इज द रिपोजिटरी ऑफ पटेल साहब. ठीक है. तो नाउ आप क्या कर सकते हैं, यहाँ पे थोड़ा ब्राउज नीचे करिए, तो देयर इज अ लॉन्ग लिस्ट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स. बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स यहाँ पे दिए हुए हैं. ठीक है, मशीन लर्निंग फ्री कोर्स, वेब स्क्रैपिंग, चैटबॉट बनाना है, एंड्रयू एनजी का एमएल के जो नोट्स हैं वो यहाँ पे गिवन है, 365 डेज कंप्यूटर विजन लर्निंग है. ओके, अनसुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग, उसके प्रोजेक्ट्स यहाँ पर गिवन है, सेंटिमेंट एनालिसिस, रिकमेंडेशन, कोविड-19 प्रोजेक्ट्स. तो क्लास, दिस इज अ लॉन्ग लिस्ट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स, बट मेक श्योर दिस इज अ ट्रैप. इतने सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स देख के हम एक भी नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है, जस्ट कृष्णा का एक प्रोजेक्ट उठाइए. हर एक डोमेन में जो यहाँ पर आपको दिख रहा है, डोमेन मतलब जो मैंने आपको बताया है कई बार, डोमेन मीन्स एनएलपी. ठीक है, आपका रिकमेंडेशन सिस्टम, कंप्यूटर विजन हो गया, उसमें ऑब्जेक्ट डिटेक्शन हो गया, फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन रिकॉग्निशन हो गया. तो मल्टीपल दीज आर द डोमेन्स. टाइम सीरीज हो गया. तो इन एवरी डोमेन आई एम रिक्वेस्टिंग यू काइंडली डू एटलीस्ट 3 or 4 मिनी प्रोजेक्ट्स. ठीक है, इतना कर लिया तो हमारे लिए काफी रहेगा, बिकॉज एंड ऑफ द डे व्हेन वी वांट टू गो इनटू द डेटा साइंस और एआई जॉब्स, अपने को नहीं मालूम कि किस डोमेन में काम करना है, ठीक है, बट एटलीस्ट यू हैव द एक्सपीरियंस इन ऑल द डोमेन्स, तो ये आपके लिए एडवांटेज रहेगा. गॉट इट? So this is all about the mini projects. Now come back to the major projects. So just click on the major projects. So that is a single, my Google Drive link is there. And here I listed some few documents from ISRO, Army Design Bureau, some cyber security problems are there. Okay, let me open again. Yes, open करिए इसको फटाफट. And just open ISRO problem 2022. क्लास ओपन किया आपने? यस नो?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So this is the Response Basket 2022. So this is a booklet released by every year by ISRO, and there is a small department with the name Respond and AI. So हर साल these people will release their books. 2023 की आने वाली होगी, वो मैं अपलोड करके आपको बता दूंगा. Now thing is that if you browse this booklet, you will find different labs, centers of the ISRO. Okay, so now just आपको क्या करना है, just Control F and search for image, IMAGE. इस PDF में just search for image. Okay, so you will find 76 times I am found image word in this complete document. अच्छा, इस पहले वाली लिंक पे क्लिक करिए, पेज नंबर 57 पे, just click on the link. So now that is the brief description of the problem. Okay. Yes. So what is the name of the center? So this is the problem statement. Problem number क्या है? This is the unit जो उस problem statement. Now this is the title of the project. So as you go through, the data-driven approaches for dehazing of high-resolution multispectral remote sensing images. So if anyone want to work in the multispectral images, so multispectral images क्या होती हैं? जो सैटेलाइट से हम पिक्चर क्लिक करते हैं, सैटेलाइट ने जो पिक्चर क्लिक की है, वो मल्टीस्पेक्ट्रल इमेजेस होती हैं. ओके, एंड आफ्टर दैट उसको हम वापस इंडिया पे मतलब अर्थ पे आने के बाद हमारे जो सेंटर्स को कैप्चर करते हैं, उसको हम प्रोसेस करते हैं. दैट्स व्हाई वी आर एबल टू रिकॉग्नाइज कि हाँ, अब 6 घंटे बाद, 8 घंटे बाद, 10 घंटे बाद बारिश होने वाली है, या फिर कोई तूफान आने वाला है, या फिर कुछ भी जो प्रोसेस होने वाला है. सो दैट इज नोन एज मल्टीस्पेक्ट्रल इमेजेस. अब यहाँ पे एज द टाइटल सजेस्टेड, डीहेजिंग. सो लेट्स सपोज इमेज कोई क्लिक हुई है एंड हमारा वहां पे बादल आ गया या कोई और ऑब्स्टेकल आ गया, उसको हमें रिमूव करना है. ठीक है, तो उन हाई स्पेक्ट्रल इमेजेस को हम कैसे रिमूव करेंगे? नाउ दीज आर द नेम ऑफ द पीआई, प्रिंसिपल इन्वेस्टिगेटर, मतलब दीज आर द होल सोल ओनर ऑफ दिस प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट जो इस पे काम कर रहे हैं. एंड द बेस्ट पार्ट इज दैट ईमेल आईडी. तो यहाँ पे यू विल फाइंड ईमेल आईडीज ऑफ बोथ द पीआईज और द सिंगल पीआई, या सबके दिए हुए हैं यहाँ. So what I am suggesting you, so this is the research area, this is the complete summary of the proposal कि इसमें इस problem statement में क्या हमें करना है, what is the scope and what is the expected outcome. Are you getting? So one page complete description of the problem. Now ये major projects है. अब यहाँ पे आपको सब कुछ खुद ही करना है, इमेज कलेक्ट करनी है, प्री प्रोसेस करना है, खुद सब कुछ सिस्टम आपको खुद बनाना है. Now let's suppose it is a group project. You make a group of 2 or 3. आपने इस प्रोजेक्ट को उठाया and let's suppose you spend 3 months and आपने कुछ एक POC बना लिया. POC means proof of concept. And आपने you develop a service and उसको आपने वेब बेस कर दिया है कि वहाँ पे अपनी मल्टी स्पेक्ट्रल इमेजेस को आप डालिए एंड बैक एंड में हमारी एल्गोरिथम चलेगी एंड वो उसको डीहेज करके दे देगी. ओके, सो व्हेन यू आर रेडी विद दिस POC or web service, just drop the mail to these people and उसका लिंक भेज दो. ओके, उनको बोलो कि now I go through ये problem statement, मुझको बहुत अच्छी लगी and I develop it, उसका मैंने POC बनाया, that is the web service. Now I am looking for internships. This is the way we can approach for the internships. Class, is it clear? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. So ऐसा नहीं है कि इंटर्नशिप ढूंढना बहुत मुश्किल काम है. सेम चीज आप प्रोजेक्ट बनाइए, then you can mail to different professors of IITs, IISc, IIITs, NITs, जिसको प्रोफेसर डालना है डाल दीजिए कि ये हमने काम किया हुआ है. तो दैट मेक कि हमारे पास कुछ है, एंड देन तभी वो हम कुछ आगे कर पाएंगे, किसी को इंटर्नशिप के लिए अप्रोच कर पाएंगे. ओके, तो यू विल फाइंड लॉन्ग लिस्ट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट हेयर. ठीक है, तो ये मेरा दो आपको रिसोर्स ऑफ द डे समझाना था कि प्रोजेक्ट्स आप अपने आप कर सकते हैं, मिनी प्रोजेक्ट्स. आफ्टर दैट मेजर प्रोजेक्ट्स यहाँ पे लिस्टिंग की हुई. ओके क्लास, तो सिमिलरली एक्सप्लोर ऑल दीज प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स. Okay, one of the, if somebody interested in security aspects, okay, so there are two links. One is Kavach. So Kavach is one of the recent hackathon जो अभी चल रहा है. ठीक है, that is a problem statements and all are related to cyber security. So there are multiple projects are there. A small video is there and very brief introduction is there. So if somebody interested in cyber security projects, इनमें से आप प्रोजेक्ट्स को उठा सकते हो, एंड देन यू कैन क्रिएट योर ओन. एक छोटा सा प्रोजेक्ट आपका हो जाएगा. So right now I am working on, me and my team is working on detection of uses of LoRa. So LoRa is come under signal processing, signal intelligence system. तो LoRa क्या है? लो रेडियो फ्रीक्वेंसी वेव्स होती हैं, एंड इट कैन ट्रेवल अप टू 2 to 5 किलोमीटर्स. बट क्या है इंपॉर्टेंट चीज, इसका डिटेक्शन पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता है. तो लेट्स सपोज वी वांट टू डेवलप अ एंटीना जो ऐसे सिग्नल्स को कैप्चर करे और जस्ट ये बताए कि यहाँ आसपास हम LoRa को यूज कर रहे हैं नहीं कर रहे. ओके, सो देयर इज अ क्विक वीडियो. ठीक है, वो दैट विल एक्सप्लेन यू मोर इन डिटेल अबाउट द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट. तो ये हमारी साइबर सिक्योरिटी के रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स है. सिमिलरली इफ यू गो फॉर SIH, स्मार्ट इंडिया हैकेथन. SIH मालूम है आप सभी को? If you know SIH, then good, no worries. So this time SIH is the one of the Smart India Hackathon that is organized by AICT and Ministry of External Affairs. Okay, and you go to the just scroll down. So these are the statics. 15 lakh students have participated. Nearly 8,000 institutions, 365 organizations, and selected ideas, and 4,145 problem statements. So this is a huge bank of problem statements. If you explore it, you can find multiple problems are there. कैसे find करना है? Just go to the top, discover SIH. Yes, discover SIH and SIH themes and problem statements. Okay, if you go for past events, so again you will find 2018, 16, 17, sorry, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 में क्या है? 22 में, 21 में नहीं हुआ था because of COVID, but you can easily find the problem statement in 2022. So I want to share one statistics with you. So last year हमारी जो 6 टीमें SIH में जीत के आई थी, 6 team from Thapar. So we sent nearly 25 teams. उसमें से 13 टीम शॉर्टलिस्ट हुई थी फाइनल राउंड के लिए, एंड एंड ऑफ द डे 6 टीम हमारी जीत के आई थी. तो दिस इज द अचीवमेंट बाय थापर स्टूडेंट्स ओनली. ठीक है, कि किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन से 6 टीमें कभी भी नहीं जीती है. तो दिस टाइम ये नवंबर में होने वाला है, एंड आई वांट दोज हु आर कम इन द सेकंड ईयर, तो थर्ड ईयर में आए हैं, तो कैप्स्टोन प्रोजेक्ट शुड बी देयर. तो कैप्स्टोन प्रोजेक्ट आप लोगों का जनवरी से स्टार्ट होता है, दिसंबर तक 1 साल का रहता है. So you can also select the problem statement from these different problems. यहाँ से आप देख सकते हैं sources. So there you can shortlist कि किस domain में मुझे चाहिए, what is the category, hardware चाहिए, software चाहिए, या किस organization को मैं यहाँ पे देखना चाहता हूँ. तो इसके हिसाब से problem statement आपको आ जाएगी. Okay, so this is one of the wonderful resource to select the problem statement. Okay, class. Anything else? So I think we need to stop here. Any question, query?
सर फर्स्ट ईयर के कितने स्टूडेंट्स हैं?
फर्स्ट ईयर छोड़ो, मैं 0 ईयर के स्टूडेंट्स बताता हूँ जिनका अभी थापर में एडमिशन नहीं हुआ, काउंसलिंग ही उन्होंने की है. तो जस्ट वेट. तो पहले जस्ट थैंक यू फॉर द डे.